Hey, welcome back to another Human Design for Business Q&A session. And today's session is going to be a little bit different because I want to go back through some of the questions I've received on my blog. So we're going to literally do a rapid fire process of just going through and answering some of the questions that were asked on the blog on some of the various blog posts that I've actually written about human design, which is where I kind of got started with human design, was writing about my own experience before I started this channel where I'm sharing even more stuff with you guys. So if you have a human design specific question, particularly around your business, implementing it in your business, how to market, all of those things, then feel free to click the link in the description. And all you have to do is drop your question and then I will answer it in an upcoming session. So without further ado, let's just dive into question number one. So the first question was submitted by someone who was wanting to hire a couple of different people, and she really wanted to use human design to help in that hiring process. But the question was around, how do you do that without asking all of those details? Because most people don't include that information on their resume, right? No one's putting in their time of birth, date of birth, all of those things. So the simplest and easiest way is to, if you're wanting to use human design as part of that process, is make sure that people give you their date of birth, because then you can just run a very simple chart using midday as the time, right? You can just do that, because at the end of the day, when you're making a decision for hiring purposes or even just working with someone, inviting them in as a collaboration partner, anything like that, you only really need to know their type and strategy, because those are the two key components that will determine whether you're going to work really well or not. Now, obviously, if you were doing more of a partnership, then you probably want to go and get all of that information as much as you can, but you would ask that question, right? That would be something you'd be really upfront about. So what you want to do is get their date of birth, pop it into your chart tool, put midday as the time, and then see what comes out. And then all you have to decide is this the type of person that I can work with? A couple of things aren't really going to shift too much if you do get their exact time of birth. The things that will shift are typically gates and channels. Centers defined typically remain the same, but it's the gates and channels and the profile numbers, those types of things that can shift with a specific time of birth. So from there, once you know what that information is, then you can make a decision. So how do you make that decision? Well, I think before you go into any hiring or partnerships or anything like that, you yourself need to understand what you need in whatever it is that you're looking for. So if I use myself as an example, manifesting generator, sacral authority, 3 centers defined, everything else is open. If I'm looking to hire someone, right, if I was looking for a VA, then I would probably want to find a generator or a projector. Those would probably be the two that I would work with really well. And from a generator perspective, I would work better with someone who has sacral authority as well, because I move really quickly. And a generator who doesn't have sacral authority wouldn't necessarily be able to do the same kind of movement. And then if I wanted to work with a projector, I would probably want to work with someone who had splenic authority or soundboard authority. Those would be my preferences. Now, as it happens, the VIs that I've worked with in the past have actually been splenic projectors. So that's always an interesting thing that I didn't know until after I found human design. So you yourself just have to make some decisions around who do I work with best, but who would also complement me. And that's where, if you were looking for someone to help on the weak side of things for you, like if you found that you had a weakness in something, then you probably would want to know all the details about them, right? You'd want to know their birth date. So if you don't feel comfortable asking them that information, which is totally fine, instead, when someone applies, have them provide their actual human design chart to you, so that you don't need to see any of their details. All you want to see is their chart, and then you can kind of go from there. So I think that that's a great question, and a great way to approach hiring people and working with people. So the next question is from a projector who was basically saying, I'm looking to host an event and I want to invite people to that event. How do I go about doing that if I'm designed to be invited, not to actually invite? So it's a tricky situation to be in because you aren't actually designed to kind of reach out in that way. And in most instances, I would actually deter a projector from actually hosting an event. You are much more of a participator, right? That's generally what that looks like because that's how invitations come about. However, if someone was to turn around and say to you, it would be amazing if you hosted an event, then that's an invitation. So it just depends on the scenario that you find yourself in terms of hosting the event. So if you want to host an event, but you haven't been invited to do so, right? Someone hasn't suggested that you do it or anything like that, then I would actually shelve it, wait for the universe to send you some invitations for it. Like that will be the easiest way to do it. The person who asked this question on the blog said, I've sent out 20 invitations and I've only had 3 people say yes. And that's why, because as a projector, you're not designed to chase, right? You're not designed to go out and kind of initiate a whole bunch of stuff. You're designed to wait for the invitations to come in. It really actually is very easy when you allow it to be that way. So that's what I would do if you were in that scenario. But if the scenario is that you've had people say to you, hey, it'd be really cool if you hosted this event, then what you can do is go back to those people and say, hey, can you give me recommendations for people who you think would be a good fit for this? And then when you go to outreach to anybody, you can then lead with the fact that this person recommended you, and here's what I'm thinking about doing. Here's why I think you'd be a good fit. And that will work really, really well. So it's always about the nuances. Have you been invited to do this thing? As in, has someone asked you to do this? Has someone suggested that you do it? If they haven't, then this is where you are going to basically say to the universe, hey, I want to host this event. Send me invitations and signs for me to actually be able to go ahead and do that. Otherwise, you're going to shelve it until that happens. And then the next question is more of a statement and one I completely understand. And this person basically said, I'm an emotional MG, and it sounds like that we have the limitations of both the manifestor and the generator. What's the point? Why bother manifesting if all I have to do is respond? So I totally got the question, or rather the statement and the frustration, right? So clear when you understand how things work. And so if you're currently experiencing that as a manifesting generator, right, you're sitting there going, I'm so frustrated, right? Like I can't do this and I can't do that because I have to do this and I have to do that. And now I've got double the negatives. And I don't ever think anything about human design or our personalities, anything like that is ever a negative. And that's what I said back to this person. But basically, it's not that there are any limitations on any of us. It's more about learning to go with your inherent gifts, strengths, and talents. And that's really what the human design framework allows you to zone in on. So it's not about, realizing that you have to inform after you've responded and that being a limitation. It's not. It's just that we're conditioned to feel that we have to approach things a certain way, right? That we have to market and that we have to chase in order to make money. But the actual reality is, if you lean into your strategy and authority, no matter what type you are, if you actually just continue to do that day after day after day, things become easy and fun because you're literally doing things in alignment with just the way that you naturally are. So, as a manifesting generator, we are designed to respond first, then inform. And the reason for that is because our energy is so big that we're so magnetic that if we don't do that, that if we don't respond, then inform, we can find ourselves overcommitting to lots of different things and burning ourselves out really quickly. So, our strategy and authority are actually there to protect us. no limitations. There are literally no limitations. It's just, how can this be easy and fun? How can I just go with the flow? And that's what your strategy and authority are designed to help you do. So if you're frustrated, if you're so angry that you're not making the progress, those are signs from the universe that whatever it is that you're doing right now might not be right for you, but also where you might be pushing when you should be responding, allowing things to come to you versus you having to go after them. So, those are all the questions that I wanted to kind of cover in today's session. I didn't want to make this too long, but I hope that that was helpful. Now, if you have any questions at all, you know what to do in the description below. Go ahead, click the link and leave your question, and I will answer it in an upcoming Q&A session. Now, there is a video coming up on your screen right now that is going to be the best fit for you. Go ahead and check that out, and I will chat with you soon.